Hakim Isler is going to do a demonstration now. We have Dalia and Lidu here with us that are going to do some incredible things. I will let Hakim introduce the panel later, but our first segment is going to be a demonstration of these abilities. It's not magic trick, it's a demonstration. So why don't we get started, Hakim? What's the first thing we'd like to do?
Oh, I would love to take an opportunity to introduce our panel. So together we got this really amazing panel where we have Chris Ramsey. For those of you who don't know Chris Ramsey from Area 52. One of the most amazing YouTube channels. Chris was did a lot of magic and a magician. And if I'm not mistaken, Chris, you got into magic, you were doing it, and then you had these moments where it felt like things that were unexplainable, like psychic phenomenon, were happening. And that kind of set you off on a path of looking into that, which led you down to remote viewing and gateway and all these other things. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you, Hakim, for having me here. Thank you guys for showing up. Yeah, as a magician, I mean, this is funny because it actually, Eric Wargo talks about this in Time Loose, but Russell Targ, who is, one of the people who started Stargate over at the Stanford, or started the SRI project into remote viewing, was a stage magician. And it was these little psychic events that would happen during his performances on stage that sparked his curiosity for psi. And a lot of people might not know that, and I thought that was just really interesting. That's something I found out later. But that also happened to me and to a lot of other magicians, although they might be a little bit less forthcoming and might chalk it up to chance. I've seen it happen too many times, and I've since been trying to actually apply it during performances, and that's something that you've seen too. And I continue to try and look into it because I do think that there is something a little extra that can happen sometimes when you're dealing with certain variables and odds and certain intentions that you have during these performances that you can make, tiny miracles that actually happen. And I've seen that time and time again. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Give Chris a round of applause.
Thank you.
And then sitting next to him is Michael Phillips, who is the creator and designer of Third Eye Drops, which is another YouTube channel. Has anybody ever seen that? Yeah. If you haven't, check it out.
I'm clapping myself.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So Chris and I actually have, first of all, it's amazing to be up here, but we also have an interesting relationship in that not only did Chris go to Gateway, Chris introduced me to Monroe Institute. I did a Gateway, had an experience I couldn't believe that I had. And ever since then, it's been sort of like a weird series of synchronicities to a point where now I'm on the stage. I got a chance to see a little preview of some of the things that are about to happen. And yeah, you're in for a treat for sure.
Yeah, give him a round of applause. And next, many of you have probably seen her and talked to her, or at least seen her work, Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell. She's been in this field for a long time, in working on this specific concept and this knowledge for a long time, about 40 years. Is that correct, Dr. Powell?
Yes, it is.
And so it's become very popular now, but she was the pioneer introducing this information to us. And so it was really important for me to have her on the panel. And if you haven't followed her work or read her book, The ESP Enigma, you should. It's something that's going to give you some great insight. But Dr. Powell, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I basically was raised as a materialist and an atheist. And after becoming a doctor, I discovered through my work with patients that there's just so much more to reality than we were taught. And the big turning point for me was when I was at Harvard and working at Cambridge Hospital, and I was actually just down the hall from John Mack. And I went in to see a patient, and the staff thought she was mentally ill, and it turned out that she knew all kinds of things about me and my future, that turned out to be, just very, very specific things about me, my personal life, and my future that all came true. And I thought, wow, as a neuropsychiatrist, it's my duty to look into this. And I knew that it was so similar to savant syndrome, which is something that is more highly expressed in autistic individuals, that if anybody was going to be able to demonstrate ESP, it would be an autistic savant. And after putting that hypothesis out there, I started getting emails from all around the world from people who said that indeed I was correct. And so I've been doing the experiments now for about 13 years.
And then next, I would love to introduce my friends Dalia and Lidu, her daughter Lidu. And they actually have these abilities, and they're able to use them functionally in the world at will. And we did a demonstration for some friends earlier. And this is where I think we need to head. So we talk about contact, we talk about NHIs. When we talk about NHIs, we say they're talking to each other without using or communicating without using their words. We say that they're moving and influencing their machines without using their hands or any appendages. How is that happening? Well, they have the ability to use these skills, what we call psychic abilities, functionally. And so how do we get to a point as a community where we can take action, where we can bring these psychic abilities into our real world? And so that's the work that we're trying to do. And what's going to make this preview so great, this demo, is that you're going to get to see some things here that we hope can open your mind. We hope can awaken you and inspire you to start moving towards taking actions in your own lives to try to tap into these abilities and make them functional. And so with that, I would love to introduce Dalia. She told me a very powerful story. I don't know if she'll be able to tell it today, if she would want to tell it, about Lidu and my concerns and Ron's concerns about making sure that Lidu was comfortable in this environment, because there's a lot going on here, lights and people. And she said, yeah, Lidu had a message. And I would wonder if you could share that message about the angels that came.
Lidu has many. Can you guys hear me? Hi, I'm Dalia. And this is my beautiful daughter, Lidu. She's 14 years old. And she started spelling to communicate when she was 11. And she didn't actually become open with me till she was 13, so only a year ago. But that is when she started telling me about all these incredible abilities and showing me how telepathic she was. When she was 2 years old, though, I saw a lot of signs that she was a savant in other ways, but the telepathy kind of blew me away. And she continues to blow me away every day. But her message is that they are here, and number one, we're all telepaths. We all have this ability. And these children, the ones who actually use the telepathy, they call themselves eavesdroppers. So, yeah, and they're just really good at sending and receiving the information. But these children are here to raise human consciousness and human evolution, and it's going to happen. And this is her life calling. She is extremely happy to be here. And the telepathy between humans is just the beginning. We can communicate with others too, and that's what Lidu is capable of doing. Won't be doing that today, but she definitely can, and she has. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and start with me demonstrating blindfold vision, which is definitely something we all can do, not just me. And we can do it as adults. We don't have to be children, and you can learn it really fast. It doesn't have to be taking 10 years of training. You can learn it pretty quickly. It's the only thing that's limiting us is the idea that this is an unthinkable thing. That's the only thing that's ever limited us. We've always been able to do it. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you the blindfold vision, and later on we will have a demonstration with Lidu. So first I'm going to start with just a manta, or not a manta, this is a blindfold mask. Do you want to try it on and explain what you can see?
Well, it's literally foam pushed against my head. You cannot even It's almost unnerving. You cannot see. It's total darkness. Uncomfortable total darkness.
All right, so he is going to hold some colors in front of me, and we'll see what I can see.
Yes.
So those ones.
So what's happening here is Ron is going to have these colors. He gets to choose them at random. Dalia has this blindfold on, or this mindfold.
Okay.
She cannot
so are
see.
you- Oh, okay.
She cannot, well, now
I'm like, okay, I wasn't sure if it's going to go behind or front. Okay.
she cannot see, and what she's going to try to, or attempt to do, is tell you what color he has up.
Well, he has a pink one behind me right now.
All right.
Do you have him? Okay, now he has that greenish looking one. Green, yellow, greenish.
Yeah, neon yellow. Awesome.
And that one is an orangey looking one. All right, so would you like to, oh, sorry. Let's think.
One more of these?
Would you like to go into the audience and have them pick one?
Miller?
Nice.
It's kind of dark in there, but I can still see it, so yay. That one is blue. That is pink.
Yeah, good job.
I wish we had a mathematician here to say the odds of guessing all of these. And that one's orange.
Now notice how Ron is moving further and further away. And I'm up here and these lights are shining and I'm having trouble like kind of seeing through the lights as they're piercing. So she's still able to see at that distance, if we can call it seeing. She can perceive at that distance.
That one's the greenish yellow thing.
Yeah.
And then one more, and then I will demonstrate another thing after. And that one is blue, and there's like an orange behind the blue.
Excellent.
So next, you notice I have these patches up here. So just to crank it up, I am going to pull out some shape cards. I want to put one patch on first, just to kind of warm myself up. But I would love for you to have people in the audience do the shapes in the first couple of rows, maybe because they're kind of small and I don't know. I haven't done this in front of a huge audience before.
All right, mask on. Good. I'll tell you when. Well, you'll probably just see when.
Okay, that is a closed circle, a black circle. That one is an open square, so a square with a border. What is that? That is an open circle.
An emergency has been reported. All occupants walk to the nearest stairway exit and walk down to your assigned re-entry floor or main lobby. Do not use the elevator.
That is a plus
Walk
sign.
to the nearest stairway. Do not use the elevator. Walk to the nearest stairway.
That's telling us to evacuate.
Okay, so we have,
Attention.
That is a closed triangle.
Attention. All occupants walk to the nearest stairway exit
yeah.
and walk down to your assigned re-entry floor or main
So
lobby.
we,
Are we
Do
concerned?
not use the elevator. Walk to the nearest stairway.
All right, the timing of that is kind of wild. I'll admit. Yeah.
all types of,
When I mentioned the
yeah.
synchronicities, sometimes they're
Figure out what's going on
not
with that.
necessarily positive.
An emergency has been reported.
So it's interesting as we're vacating safely that
Re-entry floor or
when we get such a in-your-face demonstration of these abilities, something like this happens, which, you know, if you wanted to run conspiracy theory, you'd say, maybe that's some way to...
Back up and pray that doesn't happen again. I'm so sorry. Let's give these guys a chance to come back in just for a quick minute. It's 30 seconds and we're going to start again.
Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay, well, let's show that we're doing that, and then I will, if you want it on that little, color markers, and I also
might want to ask everyone to take a collective breath and come back to their center.
Okay. I love that.
I'll walk them now.
Show them what's going on.
Oh, you don't want to say you're going to walk it?
Yeah, just because I'm not sure.
And then they will write it down.
And I'll be
and
blind.
show it to you. Okay.
I can probably see the far, but I don't.
It's like, I know what you're all thinking.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and close the doors. We're going to get started now. If everyone can keep it quiet, please. Here's what we're going to do now. Dalia, if you can see here, she's put tape on top of that.
So I'm going to put these over my eyes.
She's going to literally put tape over her eyes. Miller, can you film this? So she's taping over her eyes, so you can't even see through these things alone. And then she's going to put the mask on top of that. Now here's what we're going to do. I have dry erase markers in my pocket and little dry erase cards. So we're going to walk together, we're going to come around the crowd, and whoever wants to, they can write any word they want on the card. And we'll see if she can see it.
Can I get your arm? Just
Please don't fall.
Step. Step.
Okay. Let's start with you. We're going to stand right here. Here's a card. I also have colored markers. You don't know which color we're using, do you?
No.
Will you be able to tell?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 5 different markers. What? 5 different color markers.
Emergency response team has determined that the alarm you have just heard is a non-emergency.
Thank you. We did not know that information, so I appreciate that. I'm hearing voices in my head, guys. I'm sorry.
Emergency response team has determined that the alarm you have just heard is a non-emergency. Please continue your normal activity. We apologize for the inconvenience.
So we're going to keep doing it to continue to inconvenience you. Okay, here we go. Are you ready, Debbie?
I'm ready.
Okay, young lady, pick one of any of those colors you want, and now write any word you want on that card.
Sure.
In
I don't-
English, right?
It could be in any language. I mean, I can tell you the letters.
Okay. Okay, now let me show people here what she's done and which color, if anybody can see that. I'm going to show cameraman over here. Okay, now I'm going to show Dalia.
It is unicycle in red.
Of course, that's exactly what it was. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Dalia, why don't you come up with me? Sweetheart, let's come down here. We're going to try it again. Okay. You guys want to pick any marker color. Okay? And now we're going to give you a dry erase card. Write any word you want on here. Okay. Everybody can see that up close here. Can you see this and the color? Troy, are you aware of what we got here? Okay. Okay, Dalia, here's the card.
Okay, it says happy and it's in blue.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Dalia, let's walk down this aisle a little bit. This is incredible. All right, we're going to walk down the aisle a little bit, Anyone want to raise their hand if they want to participate randomly? Here we go. Here we go, gentlemen. Okay, right here. Let's pick a color. Any marker. Okay. And now we want to write your word on that card, please. Okay, I'm going to show it to the people around here, the camera guys. Everybody can see this word.
Okay, it is baseball in red.
It's literally hard for me to read because it's kind of dark over here and it's written small, and she got it right. Okay. Here's your card. Everybody see this card here? Dalia?
It is Seraphim with the green.
Unbelievable. Exactly. Are you guys amazed by this design? Because I can't even believe it.
Let me walk back up for one more thing.
We're going right back up the stairs. We get the idea here. You have steps right in front of you, so I just don't want you to fall. We don't want a George Knapp situation again. Of course, to be honest, I think Lorraine may have pushed him, so that's...
So I've been using patches and a blindfold, so that's 2 layers. So now I'm going to put on these patches on top of my disposable patches, so that I'm having 3 layers.
So we're building up. We have now taped the eyes shut, then she puts this on top. I mean, it's over redundant because when I put the mask on, it is total darkness, just the mask.
And one of the things you find is that everyone has a different evidentiary threshold. So for our minds to accept this, we have to go through all of these hoops. And hopefully one day we can get to a point where we don't have to jump through so many hoops to just believe it. Like, I don't have to jump through a hoop. You don't have to make you do things to believe you can see. If you say you can see something, then I say, okay, tell me what it says. You say it, and then that's it. But with things like this, you tend to find people want to put patches on. Okay, put this thing over that. Okay, do this. Can you do it over here? Well, if my hand's in the way, you know? And they keep pushing the boundaries. And so that's great because it's going to help us grow. But at the same token, I think some of this is faith and belief that this is really possible. And then that creates this kind of field, this resonant field, where we can now continue to grow beyond that. So I love that she's showing this to us because it's going to help us, you know, expand our consciousness, expand our awareness, which is what we're trying to do here. We got some questions we'll ask later, but unless it's super important for right now. Yes, what do you got? Say it really loud.
Someone next to me thinks she has something in her ear, possibly. So could she just verify that she doesn't?
This is a microphone.
Yeah, Chris is a magician, knows all the magician tricks. Can you come and
Yeah, why don't
If you like, I can take the microphone off.
yeah, and check her and see if she has
She's wearing an earpiece microphone, that's all.
a gremlin on her
Yeah, if
shoulder?
you guys like, I can take the microphone off.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's take it off.
Not that this would necessarily matter to
I have a handheld. I'll just let you do that. Here we go.
Not that this
hold
would
that
necessarily
mic back.
matter to a skeptic, but she came up to us at breakfast.
I don't know how to get that on.
No one else around doing the same thing. Multiple of us verified the mask, and we were all left in just wonder, basically.
Go ahead, look beside my ears.
The
Let's just
weirdest
keep it to
thing.
the ears, okay?
Can I look
Chris,
in your
please?
ear?
This is not the TSA. This is not a full body cavity search.
So now I have the 3 layers. I have 3 layers. So I'm gonna walk down with him again, and Ron. We're gonna walk together, and someone could just open up any page in their pamphlet, and I will read whatever you point to.
Okay, so anybody got their program guide?
I'm
Not you, lady. We've already. That's a plant.
Go to the guy who asked about the microphone.
This gentleman's got it. Oh, here we go. Right here, Dalia. All right, there's the book. Pick which we'd like to see.
So right here, it says Yvonne Smith Workshop.
Yes.
I'm a believer. Anybody's background, any of our speakers, and I can just read the whole background if you want.
Okay, so you want to turn to the bio page, sir? We have 62 speakers, plus 10 podcasters, plus 5 filmmakers. We're going to pick one. Troy, why don't you come on this side? Let's get Troy to see what she's going to... go ahead, sir, select which one you'd like her to read.
Let's see. How about we do
Not Captain Ron, that's boring. Anything else? There we go.
That one, it is Tracy, how do you say that? Barbara Dolan. And it's kind of dark, but I'll read it. I put it in the light a little. A prominent UFO researcher specializing in remote viewing, PSI phenomena, or psi phenomena, and a little dark, and close encounters with an academic background in psychology and international studies anthropology.
How about a round of applause for that? Here, this guy's got a book that's not our manual. Why don't you come over here, sir? Troy, can you get this too?
The cover says it never happened. So.
She's reading the cover before he even gets out here.
My fingers on the sentence. Well, I have to turn it around to read. Is yours something? Yeah, I can do that too, but not right now. Knocking on the truth door, but I can read the smaller print too. In the beginning of the post-WW2 era, there was a sense that the United States was top dog among nations and positioned as the greatest power in the world.
And this book is on sale at this conference.
So he managed to get the demonstration and a cheap plug in as well. So. You want to do one more of those? Are you, okay, let's go on up.
Yeah.
We're going up. We get it. She's the one that does the pushing. So. Up. Perfect.
I'm going to show you guys again. Blindfold.
Troy.
These patches, these things. There we go.
Awesome.
And that's, while we're out and about, if you see Dalia or myself and you want to look at the Mindfold and put it on, if you have some questions about what's going on here, she used some very interesting words, and I'm sure people were catching on to that, especially we have skeptical minds out there, where she said it's a little dark in here. So some of you may have been thinking like, oh, okay, well, she said dark, but I thought she was not like seeing, And one of the phenomena that happened is that we are so used to growing up using our eyes and using that type of vernacular that even when you start having these breakthroughs, the brain is still having that kind of conflict of like, how far can it be? How close does it need to be? Does it have to be right in front of me? And so Dalia runs all of these tricks when she teaches people, and then also on herself, where the idea is she'll put the blindfold on and somebody will hold something up behind her, but kind of make her think it's in front of her. So now we're tricking the brain to think that it's in front, so it's looking for that information, but really it's finding it behind. So it's building that muscle, training that muscle for us to be able to see beyond just in front of us. And that takes work, right? So it's not just like I open up and now I can see everything. It's like any other muscle or any other skill. We have to start to build it and push it and grow it. But we can't do that unless we start. And we start to really practice and make this thing happen.
Hey, Hakim, this is incredible. And can I just point something out to everybody here, please? Did anybody notice that each and every single test demonstration that we did, she was 100% correct? Every color, back of the room color, every square, every word of every page. Really amazing. Dalia, that was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, I think it's really great. And so before we move on to Lidu, and then we'll start to discuss this a little bit more, I want to talk about one of the downloads that came to me that kind of set me off on this path. And if you've seen my booth or talked to someone around, you've heard of this thing called the PSI Games. And so we're doing the PSI Games in August in Charlottesville, Virginia, where it's a lecture, workshops, but we also have these demonstrations. And why is that? The reason I wanted to do that was because, or it came to me and then I said yes, and then it started to create itself, I was like, how do we functionalize this stuff? I've trained with all of the remote view, or many of the remote viewers out there who were in the original military program, those that are still teaching, Joe McMonagle, Paul Smith, all these guys. But then I was like, well, this is great and I can do it, but how do we bring this out into the world? Because if NHI are waiting for us to grow, we have to grow in the environment in which we're operating in. And so to do it in a lab is great because we're getting some good, strong research, but we also have to make this functional for our lives. And that's what Dalia is, right? And that's what Lidu is, where they're able to do these things and capture this information, but it's not just them, it's all of us. It's every single one of you out there has this ability. Your children have this ability. Their children will have this ability. But if we really want to take action and start to raise the human species to the next level, we need to start working together to bring out these abilities so that maybe our friends, our neighbors out there can say, oh, now we can have a conversation, like a real conversation, because they know how to do this thing. They know how to communicate like us. Do we understand where I'm coming from for that? So I would love to invite you all to grow in that way. Obviously, come to the PSI Games, and where you'll be seeing us push the envelopes and things of that nature. With that said, maybe we can move on, Miss Dalia, and maybe Miss Lidu would like to show us something.
So yes, so now we're going to show you a little bit of telepathy. Lidu is a non-speaker, so that means she uses a letterboard to communicate. So she will be telling us the things that she's picking up with the letterboard. She can say what do you call it? I can't even think of the words. Reactive things. But I'm going to have Dr. Diane explain a little bit about the non-speakers and how they communicate, and just a little bit of background telepathy, and then I will show you some of the things Lidu can do.
Thank you. So the reason that the non-speakers use a letterboard is that they have problems with sensory motor coordination, and they don't really know where their body is in space oftentimes, and certainly oftentimes don't know where their hands are. Many of the autists have said this to me. And so what the letterboard does is it enables them to have a large enough target for them to point to. And if you think about what they're experiencing, they tell me that they spend this, it's a tenuous sort of relationship that they have between the mind and the body, and so they're just a little bit out of their body in order to get the information, and yet at the same time we're asking them to do something that requires embodiment, and so it's really quite remarkable what these children can do, and then to be able to do it in front of a live audience, I think it makes it even more astounding. And I must say that Captain Ron has done a fantastic job of putting together this community, because the vibe here is really good, and I feel that if there's any place where it could be done in front of the crowd, it's here.
Thank you, and she is right. It is. It's interesting to me that I do a lot to try and have these abilities that she naturally has, whereas she trains all the time to be able to communicate with us. And this is really just for us, so that we can see what's going on, like what she's thinking and everything. But in reality, all of the psychic abilities is just natural for her. But to begin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring out a random set of numbers and shapes. So there's going to be six colors and 5 shapes, I think. And some of the shapes will be filled in and not filled in. You already saw some of those. And the odds of her getting it right on the first try would be 1 in 60-ish. The odds of her getting it right on the second try would be 1 in 3,600. And the odds of her getting it right the third time, 1 in 216,000. So let's see how Lidu does. So let me grab those colors. Which one do you want? So I'm going to grab these colors here.
Okay.
And these, and just...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, another important thing. So Lidu's going to be reading my mind, so I'm going to have to always see it. She's going to be reading my mind today. She has shown that she can read others, but we're going to have her tap into me.
Okay, so you're going to come with me, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So let me blindfold her.
Okay, we're going to...
Okay.
Lidu's going to go ahead and wear the blindfold now. And now, Dalia and I are going to come back out into the crowd. Let's go over this way. And
I wonder if I could just stay there and show it, so I can be next to her so she can spell.
okay. You want me? I can just hold it up to you and you'll see it. So you want me to pick either one first? Okay, so let's just pick a random color. Somebody just give me a random color. Which color do you want? Just pick one. Okay, put that on the top. Okay, now you pick a random image. So there's a lot of math here because we've got a random image and a random color. Now I'm going to hold this up to the crowd and then I'm going to hold it up to the stage. So this is the image that she selected with this color. So.
Okay. All right, we can put it down. So, all right, you ready, sweetie? You ready? So he just held a color up. Can you spell the color? Hopefully you guys can see. Can you spell the color that he just held up? Go ahead. No, I can't touch right now, sweetie. Normally I tickle her, but she knows for demonstration I can't touch her, so go ahead. Go ahead, sweetie. First letter is B, L, U, E. So she got the color, so that. And then you hold the shape up, sweetie. Can you tell me what shape it was?
I know what it is. It's
C, I, R, C, L, E.
Lidu! Fabulous!
Okay, we have the blindfold already.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. This mic, okay, there we go. There's the image and there's the color. Everybody back here can see this, I hope. Now we're going to show it to the stage. Dalia.
Okay. You ready, sweetie? All right, what was the color first? And spell. Y. E. L. O. W. And what was the shape that he had?
I know.
S, Q, U, she's going faster than I can say. A, then R, and E.
Lidu, you're amazing.
So, I would like to do another little activity. So here I have a box of cards with a bunch of pictures on it.
Okay.
Lidu
Microphone.
has never seen these pictures. She's never seen these cards.
How many of these are there?
I don't know.
I mean, there's hundreds.
There's
Okay.
like a ton.
Okay, so are you going to come out here with me?
Yeah, I'll go with you.
Okay, Troy, why don't you follow us?
Repeat what she said. I don't have it there. Repeat what she said.
Oh, she hasn't seen these. She doesn't know what these are. These are a deck of cards that have different images and words on them. So we're going to randomly come back out here. Somebody can pick anything, any card out of this. Take the whole thing and just pick whatever one you want. You got it? Okay, there you go. Dalia's looking at the card now. She's going to look at the image and the words. Okay, let me show you. Okay, here, this is what it is. I know it's small. Okay. Okay.
You ready, sweetie? Yeah. So I don't even know what she's going to say. I'm just going to have her describe the picture. So let me see. I don't know what she's gonna say, I'm just gonna have her describe the picture. So she's not actually getting the words from my head, but she's just gonna describe the picture. Okay? Ready, set, go. I can't touch it.
Happy birthday.
A, H, and E, and A, and R, and T. She says a heart. O, N, A, B, and an O, N, A, and T. She says a heart on a boat.
Lido, that was fantastic. It's a heart on a boat.
And then,
Absolutely great.
one more thing. On the top of the card, there was, okay, so on the top of the card, there was a phrase. So I'm gonna have Lidu spell the phrase out. You ready, sweetie?
Phrase.
Whose birthday is it?
I just hope I remember the phrase. All right, you ready, sweetie? Okay, what was the phrase? I can't touch sweetie. O and P and E and N and I and N and G opening. Keep going. T and O 2 and then L and O and V and E opening to love.
Exactly what's written on the card. Unbelievable. Lido, you're fantastic.
Okay.
So now, we need someone in the audience to write down a story that is very well known, like very, very, very well known, that everyone could recognize.
Or it could be a movie. So
Or it could be a movie.
If you know a movie that's famous that we would all know, let's write that down on a card. And the color doesn't matter or anything. Here you go. Put the title on there.
For this speaking, but yes, someone else.
Oh, very well done. Okay, can you guys read this from here? See this? I'll show as many people as we can so they can see what's been written on the card. Cameraman. Okay.
Now I'm just going to show it.
To Dalia.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is a story that she's never actually seen, but I'm going to ask a question that doesn't give it away. But hopefully she can give it away by answering. Okay, sweetie, what is a very famous quote from this story? Ready? You ready? Go. Good, hands up, good. You can do it, sweetie. L, I, F, okay, E, life, I, S is, okay, L, I, K, E, life is like, A, okay, so B and O and X, life is like a box, O, of C and H and O and C. Keep going. L and A and go faster. E. Well, she's spelling it wrong, but go ahead. So T E S. Life is like a box of chocolates.
Lido, that's fantastic. Well done, Lido. That's really great.
So this last thing we're gonna attempt, this one's much harder for Lidu because she's not a speaker. But the thing is, Lidu doesn't really need the letter board. Like it is, at this point, it's psychological for her. So I'm gonna attempt to show you guys this by giving her a blank piece of paper and having her spell whatever we're gonna have her spell. But she's gonna have to say the letters herself because she's touching a blank piece of paper. So let me grab a blank piece of paper.
Here we go. Are you gonna write this?
Somebody did. Let's do an easy word, like a 4-letter, 5-letter.
Okay, let's do a 4 or 5 letter word. Let's let Gordon do it.
Yeah.
Gordon. 4 or 5 letter word, and we don't mean a 4-letter word like a dirty word. We mean 4 or 5 letters, Gordon. Letters. Any word.
Oh,
Good one. Okay.
all right. Since this is a more difficult, if she struggles, I will put the letter word up. You ready, sweetie? Yes. All right. So we're gonna have to hear you say the letters now. You ready? So here.
Okay.
All right. Ready? First letter is. Go ahead.
Okay, so the first letter is gonna be, it's, oh.
Oh, let's try that again, sweetie. You're so close. Go ahead. Try it again.
T.
Good job. Say louder.
T.
Okay. Next one. Oh, I can't tickle sweet. Go ahead. Okay. Next one is.
R.
Good job. Good job. Next one. You got it, sweetie. You got it.
U.
Good job. And next one is.
T.
Great. And then the last letter.
Oh, no, it's getting hard. H.
Good job, sweetie.
Unbelievable.
Letter word was truth.
Are you done with the demonstration at that point? That's it for the demonstration. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. We're gonna turn it over to Hakim, but I think everybody got a sense of what's happening here. How about a round of applause for these 2 military workers? Unbelievable. Yes, Hakim.
Yeah. Just one more round of applause. Wasn't that fantastic? So I would love to talk with Dr. Powell really fast and turn it over to her as to what's happening in her research here. What did we just see? I know a lot of people were just like, what was happening?
Yeah, wow. Well, first of all, let me just say that one of the things that makes Lidu a little different from some of the other autists that I work with is that she has a little more speech, and that's really a more recent acquisition. And she's been able to sing for a while, and singing actually uses the right hemisphere rather than the left hemisphere. And as I said in my talk, these autists are more right hemisphere dominant, and the right hemisphere is what we associate with intuition and it's the more dominant hemisphere when we are in dreaming sleep, which is a state that a lot of us can experience psychic messages during, precognitive or telepathic. And so what a lot of people are doing when they are having this ability to access information is that they're really, instead of their brain having these like 2 opposing modes, let's say there's the mode of, really for oversimplicity's sake, the mode of the left hemisphere versus the mode of the right hemisphere. The left hemisphere being that linear thinking, logical, analytical side, whereas the right side is the more intuitive, creative side. And so what happens is that people who are able to have both modalities open at the same time, it's like having access to 2 different apps at the same time running simultaneously. People who are able to put themselves in that state have greater access to information that normally we don't have access to. That's really what lifting the veil is. And just before we fall asleep and just after we wake up. Those periods they're called hypnagogic and hypnopompic periods, and those are and usually they're just so fleeting that we can't we barely even recognize them. We're just ready to start our day, or we just want to conk out and go to sleep. But it's really the same state that we're in for just a small period of time then. And so what people who are meditating are doing is they're trying to prolong that period of time. They're trying to stretch it from just being a few seconds to being minutes to even longer. And so that's what I think is happening with these individuals, that they're able to be in that state at will.
Thank you for that. Chris, I'd like to ask you some questions. What do you as a magic guy, spend quite a long time using deception or trickery to kind of make people think one thing that was totally a trick and make them believe it. What is this? How's this experience for you?
As a magician, you're kind of aware of a lot of methods to a lot of different things, and so doing the impossible is kind of a magician's job, right? So when people go, I want to create this effect where I'm disappearing while I'm walking, and that's a magician's job to figure out how that's done. So there is a method for everything. I can tell you that with certainty. No matter what it is, there's a method behind something. Now the question here is that, are those methods at play or are they not? This definitely, for me, this is really impressive. Obviously, I think it's impressive to a lot of you out there as well. And it's a treat to see, I have to be honest, there's a significant difference between this and lab conditions as well. Mm-hmm. But, looks very promising and very, very interesting, that is for sure, I will say that. I'm someone, like I said, I'm someone who has to reserve something, just naturally, but I'm very, very open to learning more about this, seeing more of this in action. I think Diane's doing phenomenal work, and I commend her work, and I think it's just really brave what you've done. Both Dalia and Lidu, I think you guys are really brave for being up here and open to scrutiny as well. I think that's a very vulnerable place to be. So yeah. Yeah, definitely I'd like to see it closer and more frequently, and just kind of be able to control the variables of myself as a magician to get me over that last hurdle. But I'm very, very invested at this point. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Michael, what's your take on all this?
Just like Chris said, I'm somebody who's been skeptical of things in the past. I'm still skeptical of a lot of things, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's before you discount anything, before you start constructing elaborate narratives on how things could be faked, which is fine, that's part of critical thinking. But another part of critical thinking is to put yourself in a position to know, to try the thing yourself before you discount anything. Because the first time Chris and I talked, he was coming off of a pretty life-altering out-of-body experience. And I trust Chris, I respect Chris, but there's always part of me that's like, what? Okay. But then, I mentioned Chris and I both went to Monroe Institute. I had a chance to see for myself and experience for myself, and then that opens you up to new possibilities. So, yeah, I think before you dismiss anything, put yourself in a position to potentially know and change your mind is what's on my mind.
Dalia, is this something that we all can do, or is it just you guys?
Most definitely everybody can do it. And I've seen many... I've seen many adults doing it. It doesn't have to be children. I've also seen blind people with no eyes doing it. And yeah, it's definitely possible. Once you see blind people doing it, it's very, very, very hard to discount. So.
Yeah, we trained both with a group called Vision Without Eyes, and so we got an opportunity to experience some of this awakening of this Mindsight, and you've taken it way further than I have. I really love seeing that because it lets me know the possibilities. Dr. Powell, what is your take? Can we all do it? Is this something that we all have after so many years of researching this, or is it just held for a certain few?
Well, I think some individuals come into this world with these abilities and they don't have to develop them, but at the same time, I think that they are innate abilities in all of us if we put the time into doing it. So just like anything, I mean, it's some of us, we can all play sports, and some of us are going to be better athletes than others, but it doesn't mean that we can't all play sports. So it's just about putting the time in and not getting discouraged. So you have to really believe something is possible to put the time in, because I mean, to become a master at anything, it requires thousands of hours. Now, I've heard people say, though, that it wasn't that slow of a process for them, that they put time into it, that within a couple of months that they can develop these abilities.
Wow. Chris, why? Why does it matter when you can just create an illusion? Why would anyone want to go down the rabbit hole of doing the work to try to figure this out? What started you down the path of working on some of these, the meditation and working on these different working with these different modalities?
Yeah, good question. Again, like I've been a professional magician for nearly 20 years, and I've had being a part of the magic community, which is largely skeptic, and part of that is because we're aware of so many different methods, including psychological, including whether it's sleight of hand, misdirection, showmanship, suggestion, all these different tools that we use to create an illusion. You, ironically, as a magician, you're part of the most disillusioned and disenchanted group of people. But you're also, I found out over time, closest to actual magic. And sometimes you have those things happen that defy explanation, and to continuously chalk them up to chance, I think, is a grave error. I think it's an opportunity to learn, at least, or to apply some intention in that direction to see if there is a there. And with the work that Diane's done and the work that so many others have done in the parapsychological space, I think it's just vitally important that the work is there. I've felt it. That's not an objective thing, but if subjectively, I've felt what these type of things feel like, and to me, they felt very real. Now, the question is, how do we go from having this subjective feeling? How do we get that properly tested and to where the classically minded individuals in the field are not constantly moving the goalpost when we're getting results with just p-values that are off the charts, and they're asking people to redo the test again and again. Like, we need to really determine what that line is, what that test is that is going to bring us all across that line, and to really start taking this seriously. And I think part of my job, being someone who comes from a skeptical background, to having some out-of-body experiences, as you've mentioned, to looking into remote viewing and seeing that there's something there as well. I think part of my job as well is to help bridge that gap in a way that just allows people to broaden their worldview a little bit, maybe just enough, and then with the help of people who can put it into words and using the right vocabulary to communicate to these type of people that this isn't magic, that this is explainable, and that this is a phenomenon that we should be looking into, and possibly this is the future.
Wow, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, I'm also just so interested in the seeking aspect of it, right? Like, I'm not a scientist, and the more we do things like this, and the more we uncover techniques like Mindsight, the more opportunities that gives individuals who feel like, I know there's more. I want to dive into these mysteries myself. I don't want to just hear these stories. I want to know where I can go, who I can trust, who offers these things. And I don't need to see p-values. I need to have the experience for myself. And if there are places, events like the PSI Games where you could potentially compete or like see it right in front of your face or interact with somebody if you're skeptical and be like, okay, now try it on me. And they try it on you. And that is an ontological shift, right? Like that is a shift in what you consider to be real. And for me as like somebody with a seeking disposition that has somehow landed me on this stage, that's everything. And I'm sure that's a lot of you in the audience too.
Yeah, I definitely identify. Can I get a show of hands of people out there who at one point didn't have a belief in this and then something happened to you and then you're like, whoa, there's something more here? Can anybody? Because some of you may still be super skeptical, and this may be your first time coming to an event like this. So yeah, it was good to see that. One of the things that when Chris and I first met, we talked about this, and I'm not a very religious person, but I grew up in a religious household, and I remember we talking about like the story of Moses and how he threw down his staff and it was a snake, and then the Pharaoh's magicians or illusionists came in and they were like, oh, we can do that, and they threw down their staff and it became a snake, and that story, as I became an adult, really highlighted that they both exist. It's not one or the other. It's not just illusionists or magic. It's like we're in a world where both of those things are actually here. And it's just, where do you want to take your consciousness as you start to grow with this particular knowledge? And that's one of the things that I invite you all to think about deeply as we continue to move forward. Dr. Powell, is there any importance in your knowledge and the way you view the world for us all to tap into this? Or is it just something like, oh, okay, it's good to know, I love to research it, tell people about it? Is there an importance to all of us really diving deep to really understand our full potential as these multidimensional beings?
Oh, absolutely. And let me just add to what I said earlier, that the brain is incredibly malleable. And so, all the way up until our last days, our brain can still rewire itself. So that's why, the practice that you put in there can actually, shift things for you. And the reason why there's more than one reason why it's important. First of all, once you've had the firsthand experience yourself, then you really realize that this is real. And then once you realize that it's real, it really has tremendous implications. It says that we are far more interconnected than we really think that we are, that we really can't hurt others without hurting ourselves. So I really hope that one of the outcomes would be that we become more peaceful when we realize how important it is to pay attention to consciousness and where our mind is. Where are we putting our attention? What is it? What is the vibe that we're putting out there? Are we putting out a loving vibe? And I also want to mention love, because what I find is that there are a lot of people who, when they are in love, they have more psychic experiences. And I'm sure many of you have experienced that. The world just goes better. It's just like, there's no question about it. Everything goes more easily. And so getting in touch, connecting your heart and your mind, getting them to be informing one another and strengthening our intuition with our analytical abilities is what we're going to need. We need it now, we needed it yesterday, but ushering into the future, when you look at the state that the world is in today, we really need it. We need an army of spiritual warriors, and the type of spiritual warriors I'm talking about are people who are bringing forth this type of message where we are marrying science and spirituality again, where they're informing one another, and we become a more loving, ethical, peaceful world.
Yeah. We can all get behind that. would love to, as they set up for the microphone for questions, because we had that interruption and we all had to go outside and high-five each other and then come back in. I would let, while they're doing that, Dalia, you and Lidu, if even Lidu wants to say something, is it important to us to explore these abilities, to tap into our own personal power, and then also unify? What do you feel about that? What's your feeling?
Well, I agree with Dr. Diane that doing this would actually, I believe, unify us more. With a lot of people, they ask me, because Lidu really can tap into any of my memories, even ones that I am not consciously remembering, and she also remembers details that I don't even remember. And a lot of people say, can you turn it off? I don't know if I would want that. I don't want my child to be able to see everything. Can she really see everything? And her answer is, yes, I can see everything. But it doesn't bother me at all, because she is seeing the big picture. And it's only people that have the ego, the deep-seated ego, that are afraid of, and are so used to hiding things. And it's only the people that are thinking like that are afraid. But these children, all of them, they see everything. And they understand everything. If they see a bad side of us, they see what caused the bad side of us to come out, and they understand the whole thing, totally full of love. I've never felt any sort of judgment whatsoever from any of these kids, because I've talked to more than just Lidu. And yeah, and Lidu says this is the time for human evolution. Also, she did have something to say about earlier about the whole, can we all develop this? And she said, we definitely all have the ability to develop telepathy the way she does it. It's all about getting used to going outside of your body's senses. So we're all used to feeling our body and noticing what's going on with our senses and our emotions and everything. And she's saying it's about getting used to being outside of that. She's actually, she's capable of doing some amazing things that nowhere near what she showed here. But one of the things she can do, a lot of us, we think to go out of body, we need to be laying down and still, but she literally goes out of body every day walking. So she's just walking back and forth and going to the hill. She does it every single day. And again, it's just about learning, and this is a possibility that we can do, is learning how to just almost disassociate from the senses, and just so that we can go into that place of unity. So anyway, that was just something that she was saying earlier.
Yeah. Well, I see we have the mic out there, and first person, if you want to ask a question, and we here on the panel, we can keep our answers short so that we can get through that line.
Yes, my question is for Dr. Hennessy Powell. First, I'd like to say thank you for speaking the words you just spoke. I think they're very necessary, so thank you for saying this out loud. My question to you is, do you know if any neuroimaging tools such as functional magnetic resonance imaging or electroencephalography or diffuser tensor imaging or even magnetoencephalography has been applied to the study of autists with either telepathic or savant skills? And if no, what would it take for that to be done?
Okay, thank you for that question. So one of the challenges that I have with doing this, because I've been wanting to do neuroimaging, particularly functional magnetic resonance imaging during telepathy, to see what parts of the brain are active, what circuitry is involved in it. And one of the problems we run into is that, first of all, it exposes them to these massive magnetic fields. And the brain is an electromagnetic organ, and so to be asking them to do something that's like that while in that huge field is asking quite a lot. But then on top of that, they have to be still for 30, 45 minutes, and that also is asking a lot of them. And if you sedate them, then you're affecting the functionality of what they're doing. So it's a real quandary. And then the other thing is, I've been doing this research for this period of time without any funding. I've been self-funded. And it's really expensive to do that. You have to go through an independent review board. And that means having either being at a university, which I left academia a long time ago because I saw that they really were far too narrow in their scope, and there was no way that they would let me do this kind of research as an academician back then. But what I'm doing now is I've applied with other scientists who are at universities, the University of Virginia, the University of Arizona, the University of Oregon. I've applied for the independent review board that you need so that you can then collect that kind of data, and it's overseen by the IRB as an independent review board that makes sure that what you're doing is ethical and that you have good rationale for why you want to do it. They don't want you just, playing around. They want to know that you're really being serious about the science. And so I've gotten 2 out of the 3 IRBs approved. We're going to be doing the studies, I'd love to do functional MRI, but I'm not sure that that's the way to go. What we're doing is we're using these, there's something called QEEG, and what it is it's reading the brain waves off of the surface of the skull, the scalp, and those brain waves are correlated highly with states of consciousness. And there's a computerized program that can break down, using basically differential equations, can break down the signal that you're reading at each one of these electrodes that's recording from the surface of the head. It can read what the frequency is, that waveform, and where it's coming from in the brain. And so it is another way that can give you a lot of information about what part of the brain is active. And I'm really excited that I'm going to be doing that research really shortly.
Next question.
Lita is a lovely and amazing child, and that's even with autism making life very, very hard. And regarding the causes of autism, for science for decades has been like, we don't know what causes autism, but we know it's not vaccines. And I just want to urge people to stand by for some bombshell evidence proofs that vaccines and autism are highly linked that will be coming soon. Thank you.
Was that a question?
No.
All right, so let's move on to the next person.
Hi there, my name is Fritz, and Hakim, you've been talking with my wife and I the last couple of days, so just for some context, that we, believe these abilities are possible, and we felt them in our own lives at times. And then, maybe Chris Ramsey and me, watching the performance is, I saw her come up from the stage, and she had her blindfold on, right after you mic'd her, and a microphone was placed in her face, and she didn't see it, or like it surprised her. So it's leading not to a skeptical question, but one more about sort of the boundaries of what she's seeing. Like, how far out does it extend? Does it have to be focused? And why does it appear that she was surprised by the microphone?
Oh, good question.
So with the blindfold vision, we have certain things called, once you're starting to develop it, there's a lot of little mental mind things you have to get over. But we have things called windows when you start opening it. So you have these windows all over, and they see in different areas. Some can see behind you, some can see in front of you, some above, some below. And so, and when you are in front of a crowd or you're feeling kind of weird, the windows can shrink, and it makes it a little harder. So I was wondering how the windows were going to be when I got here. So anyway, so there are, in between the windows, there's blackness, there are blind spots. And so if I was focusing on this window over here, then I probably had a blind spot over here where they put the mic there. But those windows, what's really interesting is you can do really weird things with them, much different than regular vision. It's more high def. You can zoom in with some, you can zoom out with some. You can see in the dark. There's a lot of little different things you can do. So it's a little different than regular vision, but what's interesting is we are doing an illusion of using our eyes, and we're really not using our eyes at all. But yeah, that would be it. I was looking through a certain window, and I was focusing in a certain place, and then light comes out of nowhere to me.
Thank you, that's super cool.
Absolutely.
So my question to you is, what exercise routine or strategies you recommend for us to do at home to work that muscle or that part of our brains to improve ourselves in that development?
So if you're talking about the blindfold vision, or is it for this one?
Oh, no, just for us. Like you're saying that there are strategies for individuals to learn to be able to see through.
Yeah, definitely. So with the blindfold, the main trick I do, and it's important, is to get to a point where you forget you have the blindfold on. Because the moment you remember it's there, your brain is going to create this idea that there's something blocking me from seeing. So the quicker you can forget anything is on, the better. So that means you don't want it squeezing the life out of your head. I mean, once you actually establish that you can see, you can squeeze as much as you want. Like you can do all kinds of fun stuff afterwards. But in the beginning, just keep it nice and loose, and kind of like when you're doing telekinesis, like just kind of go with it. Even if you think there's a reason it's working, like, oh, maybe light's getting in or something. In the very beginning, let it happen. You just kind of say, it doesn't matter, and then you're just kind of looking, and then once your windows are established and you actually can read and stuff, you can tighten them as much as you want. You can put a bunch of patches, it doesn't matter anymore, because it's established that you can do it. So that's one thing. Try to get to the point where you forget you're wearing your mask. And the second thing is go into the sun. The sun is what activates seeing with light. With me, I practiced in the darkness for months before I practiced in the sun, and when I practiced in the darkness, all I was able to do is have echolocation vision, where I could see the outlines of everything and get around, but I was never seeing light. I couldn't see colors or anything. But once I got into the sun, all of these windows started opening, and that's when I started to be able to read and see colors and everything.
Wow. Now, unfortunately, we got the signal that we need to stop, but Dalia will be over at the PSI Games table. We can take some questions there. Is there a good time for you, like 2 or 3 o'clock?
Well, I'm doing a workshop this afternoon at 3.
At 3, okay, so maybe we can come to that workshop. Okay, cool. Well, we can come to Dr. Diane Powell's workshop at 3. And until then, from 2 to, let's say, 2:45, Dalia and I will be at the PSI Games booth, and you can come and talk to her directly if you have questions there. And then you can meet us again at Dr. Powell's workshop.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Hakim.